What is your full name?
My name is Dawn Angelique Wilson Clark.
Great. And when and where were you born?
I was born at Harper Hospital in Detroit, Michigan on March the 4th, 1971.
Okay. Where's Harper Hospital at?
In Detroit.
Like East Side, West Side?
Medical Center, Midtown, Downtown.
Oh, okay. Like where DMC is at now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. What is your first connection to Brightmoor? And did you ever like work in Brightmoor? How did you socialize in Brightmoor? Tell me that story.
So my first connection to Brightmoor was on February 18th. Actually, no, it was January 24th, my brother's birthday, year 2000. I was riding through the neighborhood because the lady who lived across the hall from me told me that they were building houses and renting them out and told me where to go. And so I drove around the neighborhood and I saw this cute little house on Patton and I filled out the application. It was a rent-to-own program, and so I filled out the application, gave it to my neighbor, and February 18th, I moved in. That was 2000, so that was 26 years ago.
Okay. Well, cool. And since you've been in Brightmoor, how would you say you have like used your social skills or like get to know your neighbors outside of the typical like, can I get some sugar for this cake that I'm making?
So my first outside of the house experience was at City Mission. It was a private school that you and your sisters attended. You all started going to a summer camp, and then I started, after the summer camp, they decided to open up a school, and it was a private Christian school, and I sent you all there, and maybe a month after you all started attending, they asked me to come work for them. And I worked there for maybe 9 months. So that was my first interaction with Brightmoor, and then I started work, I became a board member for the Brightmoor Alliance, and I didn't really realize what Brightmoor was until maybe 2006. Those of you that don't know, I'm Cuddles the Clown, and I was getting off work one day, and a lady was driving down the street in her church van. She said, "Cuddles, is this your house?" I said, "Yes." She said, "Girl, I need your kids." I said, "For what?" She said, "The Department of Human Services gave me $25,000 to take the children in Brightmoor on field trips because it's more drugs and AIDS in these 6 miles than anywhere in the state of Michigan." I said, "Oh Lord, what have I done? Why did I move here?" Because all I ever wanted in life to be was a wife and a mother. And so at that moment is when I felt like I was failing in that, not understanding the circumstances that I had put y'all in. But I also had hope. When I first moved here, I was married to your father, who was an evangelist, and he didn't want to live here. He talked about the blight and the danger. And I said, "But you're an evangelist. The Bible says the harvest is ripe and the laborers are few. What we doing?" And I told him, I said, "In 10 years, this neighborhood is going to be different, and we're going to be a part of the change." Well, he didn't believe it, nor did he receive it. And so he and I got divorced in 2006. And then the Skillman Foundation came to Brightmoor and identified Brightmoor as a good neighborhood. And they were, they had picked 6 neighborhoods throughout the city of Detroit and said the places that have the most children living in poverty is what they wanted to affect.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, I didn't know anything about nonprofits. I had no idea folk were giving money away for programs.
Mm-hmm.
And so I started going to meetings and learning every single thing that I could. Eventually, I joined the board of directors for the Brightmoor Alliance. And then I started volunteering for this program called the Community Connection Grant Program,
Mm-hmm.
where regular everyday folk would decide on small grants. We would meet every month and we gave away grants from $500 to $5,000. Folk were doing stuff like building community gardens, doing sewing classes, and so that is one of my greatest joys of Brightmoor, because you all were young and I got to help approve grants where you all could do stuff like when you all went participated with the Buffalo Soldiers, you did horse riding. That was because of the Community Connection Grant.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, Detroit community schools, they started out with a $5,000 grant to do their woodworker program, and we eventually upped the grant to $10,000 for groups like that, and also developing kids. So developing kids, they got their first grant with us, and now they have a $10,000 facility not far from here that serves our children.
Mm-hmm.
Also was a member of the church in Brightmoor, City Covenant. What else have I done in Brightmoor? The Block Club president.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I love it here.
Yeah. When I hear about your story in relation to the neighborhood, I always think of that moment that God gave you that scripture, Ruth 3:11. I was wondering if you were comfortable sharing what that moment was and jumping in time of talking about, you said in 10 years this neighborhood will look different, and it's taken more, right? It's almost 30 years now.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean the next 30 doesn't look completely different than what the last 30 has. So, yeah.
So right when I got out of the military, the first time I ever fasted and prayed, and I asked God, what am I supposed to do?
Wait, where were you in the military?
My first spot was Anniston, Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I did my basic training.
Okay.
And then I went to Fort Lee in Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
And then my permanent duty station was in Wiesbaden, Germany. And so I did my time. And I came home and I was living with my mama, your Grammy.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't know what to do. And I said, Lord, what should I do? Should I go to school? Should I get a job? What should I do? I don't know what to do. And for the first time, God told me a scripture, and it was Ruth 3:11, and I looked it up, and it said, fear not, my daughter, for I will do to thee all that is required for the entire city of my people to know you are a virtuous woman.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so God is faithful, even when we're not. And I'm just so thankful that He has blessed me. He's given me the desires of my heart. I said earlier, all I ever wanted to be was a wife and a mother. I've been blessed with 5 beautiful children. Oftentimes when folk are asking me who I am, the first thing I say is I'm Dawn Wilson Clark, proud mother of David, Dana, Elena, Emily, and Daniel.
Mm-hmm.
And that's true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it sounds like throughout your life, motherhood has been an identity, right? It's something that you hold on to. How do you see yourself as a mother of Brightmoor?
That's funny. I just remember a time when we were, I think we were coming to get you all from gardening, the Brightmoor Youth Garden. Mm-hmm. And this man was, I thought he was, what did I think? I thought he was doing blight, throwing stuff away. And I told my husband, I said, stop the car, pull over. And I got my tablet out and I was trying to record him. because I thought he was doing wrong in my neighborhood. And the funny part about it was my precious, precious husband, he pulled over like, what's going on? And then you all were like, Mama, you cannot be pulling random people over.
You are not the police.
They said I was not the police, and I said, but I am the patent pioneer, block club president. And you're not going to be littering in my neighborhood because we have a horrible blight problem. Folk think that they can just come and dump their trash here, and it's not acceptable. And I let him know that it was not acceptable. And he's like, lady, I'm just changing my shirt.
I did not know that part.
It was so funny. And Mr. Clark said, babe, get in the car. Get in the car. And so that was one experience, and it was funny. But then I had another experience that I'm thinking about. We had just left Cathedral of Faith Church, right, at 96 and Burt Road. We were going to a political information session. So they were talking about the proposals. You know, sometimes on the ballot you have proposals that you have to vote for, and a lot of times the verbiage is very confusing on purpose. And so we went there to try to figure out exactly what are these people trying to get us to vote for. And afterwards, we were riding down Burt Road, and I saw a lady with her son and daughter, and the son was carrying a laundry basket, and he kept dropping the basket. And this mother was cussing him out, calling him all kinds of names. Again, I told Mr. Clark, pull over. And he pulled over, and I got out the car. I said, girl, what is wrong with you? And she was like, this stupid sorry so-and-so and so-and-so keep dropping the damn basket, and I gotta go to the laundry. I said, baby, it's not his fault that you don't have no damn washing machine. Where do you live? And she said, down the street and around the corner. I said, well, get in the car. And so she got in the car, and I took her home. And when we got out the car, I said, girl, listen, the black man has it hard enough. The last thing he needs is his mama talking to him like that. I live right around the corner. If you need to fuss and cuss, come see me. I said, because he didn't ask to be here. And she said, and neither did I. And when she said that, that just hit my heart. And I said, well, you're here now. You're an adult. And if you need somebody to talk to, here's my phone number. I live right around the corner. Don't hesitate to call me. That was maybe August, whatever year that was, but it was in August. And maybe 6 months later, I was in Boston at a conference, a leadership conference. And this girl called me, and she said, Miss Dawn, I was walking down the street, and I saw these empty garden beds, and they told me you was the Black Club president. Can I plant stuff in there? I said, you sure can. And when I got home, because I was there for a week, I got home a week later, and I saw her and the baby, and she was cussing out the baby daddy. They were carrying 5-gallon buckets from Home Depot full of water to water the garden beds that she had filled up. When I got out of the car, I'm like, girl, what are you doing? And she shared with me everything that she had planted. She was so excited, and I was so excited for her. And she said, oh, Miss Dawn, I measured it. On Friday, I'm gonna get my check, and I'm gonna buy a water hose. I just need a 50-inch water hose, or 75, I don't know, whatever inch it was, I can't remember. But she said, I measured it, and I'm gonna get it when I get my check. I said, girl, how much is the water hose? And she said, $50. And so I gave her $50, and she and I stood on the corner of Burt Road and Patton, crying about a water hose. This girl took her own money to fill those garden beds up. And she didn't know about the free resources that would give her seeds to plant, but she
Right.
took ownership. And I often wonder, if I had not said anything, would she have ever done that? You know, too many times we are afraid of our own people. And so I guess that's what makes me a mama. I'm not scared of nobody. And I will
Very
say
true.
anything to anybody,
Yeah.
regardless if they want to hear it or not. But I believe folks need to hear stuff. And so a lot of times I'm led, you know, by the Spirit to say what I want to say.
Yeah.
Sometimes, well, in my older age, I have calmed down a little bit. I think about, you have a question on there that says, what is a word that someone you lost says? And I think about my lovely, precious Mr. Clark. He had this stop sign that he wrote on his desk, and it said, stop, think, observe, and proceed. And I remember when I was younger, I would just go. But now I'm learning to really stop, think, observe, and proceed.
That's interesting. I want to go back to talking about blight, because I remember ever since I could remember, it was always don't be a litter bug, and you would make people pick up the stuff that they would throw out the window no matter where we was at. And then also hearing this story about it seemed like you sparked something in that mother. You something sparked in you from what her response is. It's like the parents are also hurting just like the children, especially the mothers. And then she was able to not only not be littering, right? Not that she was the first person littering, but also like really transform just one little garden bed. What do you think that there is a connection of we cannot take care of our land until we take care of ourselves? Because it's in a way that food that she's growing can eventually take care of her and her child. What do you think, outside of the care that you were given, what do you think is needed to make just one issue of blight not be a problem in Brightmoor, just given that experience?
I think we gotta care more.
Yeah.
We gotta say something. Too many people, like I said earlier, too many people are afraid of us.
Yeah.
And, you know, sometimes we can be very scary,
Yeah.
but we have to care enough. I think about the little boy who, not little boy, he was a young man who came across the street from us and set up a dope house. And I watched him for about a week. And then I said, baby, come here. I said, how long do you think I'm gonna let you sell crack on my street? I said, before you answer, your ass got 30 days to shut it down. And it was the beginning of May. I said, it's about to be a hot summer. I got 5 kids. The girl across the street got 4. The boy next door got 3. No, 1. These people got 3 kids. You're not about to sell crack on my street.
How do you respond to that?
All right. I'm gonna shut it down. I said, you're damn right you are. Because if you don't, I'm gonna have a call the police campaign on your ass. 30 days later, a different kind of crackhead came to the house, and I was sitting on the porch and I watched, and about 20 minutes later the house got raided. And he went to jail for about 2 weeks. And I watched some of our neighbors go in that house and steal stuff. When he got out of jail, he came across the street. He said, Miss Dawn, these motherfuckers was stealing in my house, and guess what? I got it all on camera. I said, what you mean you got it on camera? This boy had his whole house wired with cameras, and on the inside, on the outside. I said, boy, you missing your calling. You need to open up a spy shop. Why you over here selling crack? And that was it. He moved. He never sold. Well, I don't know if he's selling crack now, but he didn't do it anymore on our block. And I did not have to call and tell on him.
Yeah. Somebody else did.
Well,
sounds like it.
that was the fake crackhead. When I said it was a strange crackhead,
right,
that
right.
was the police.
Yeah, undercover.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
And it was so cute. Elena said, Smoke, we've been praying for you. And he's like, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it sounds like the answer is like not being scared and not believing the narratives that the media say about who we are.
Yes, and another story I have about Smoke was, it was some boys cutting the grass. They were walking around asking people, can I cut your grass? Can I cut your grass? And Smoke let the boys cut his grass. I went in the house for a minute, and Smoke's grass wasn't this big. And I went in the house and I came back. I said, Smoke, where the boys at? He said, oh, I retired them for the day. I was like, boy, I wanted them to cut my grass. And so it spoke to me about his humanity and how much he loved us.
Yeah.
Right. I saw past what he was doing, and I saw him.
Yeah.
And you know, he was just someone who was misguided and who just needed a chance and also gave a chance.
Right. Right. They were so happy probably.
Oh my
they
goodness.
met their quota.
Listen, they was gone. I was like, Smoke. He was like, they was working too hard. I said, boy.
That's what's up though.
Yeah.
And so talk to me a little bit more about how you see what you are building right now to scale what your heart has been in Brightmoor, and that like correction, but like I'm not correcting you so you can go run away and feel ashamed, but I'm correcting you because I love you and I see you and I want to help you.
I'm sorry, say the question again.
How do you see like who you are being scaled into this new project that you're doing? And talk about the project that you're doing.
So we are building a healing center because we have so many hurt people. And there's a saying that says, hurt people hurt people. And it's something we've never seen before. And it's in honor of my beloved, your wonderful stepdad. Well, no, I'll say bonus dad.
Yes,
It wasn't a step about him. That boy stepped up, stepped through. He did all the
Stepped
step
down,
in.
all
Listen,
step in.
he did
Could
all
have been
the
a cap on the way he was stepping.
that part. But yeah, so we, you know, he and I and the group we're working with, 482 Forward, we listened to the community back in 2018, and they identified trauma as our biggest barrier to education. And so we started learning about trauma and its impact and its effect on folk. And then we went to tell folk what we learned in the beginning of 2020. And then in March of 2020, the whole world got traumatized. And so August 21, my beloved, wonderful husband, he had, the way the war ended impacted or triggered his PTSD. He also was a veteran, but he was a wartime veteran. He went to Iraq twice. And the way the war ended, he had several panic attacks and ended up having a heart attack. And maybe 6 months after that is when I started the nonprofit, the Jonathon and Dawn Clark Health and Healing Center, and purchased the Brightmoor Community, the former Brightmoor Community Center, where he and I got married at the Butterfly Garden. And so what I see at the center, as I see folk coming to learn that trauma is real, and that we all are traumatized, and it is okay to not be okay, and to try to get help and healing and move forward. Because grief and trauma is always going to be there, but how to handle it and live through it and go through it. You know, there's one of my scriptures that says, I go through the valley, the shadow of death. So it's not like it's not going to be there, but you got to get through it.
That's like really powerful. That it comes up with two questions, and like the first one I would say is like you moved to Brightmoor and didn't know what a nonprofit was, and now you are creating something that in starting your own nonprofit 6 months, just 6 months after grief, and purchasing a 13,000 square feet building to make it happen. What is something that you want to tell other mothers, either young mothers, older mothers, that about this learning arc that you've been able to have in the last 30 years?
That it is a marathon and not a sprint.
Mm-hmm.
That it's a journey. You know, I remember when I was married to your father and how he and I used to really go through it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, mental, physical, financial abuse.
Yeah.
And I used to cry and look at myself in the mirror and I say, Lord, this cannot just be my life and it cannot just be for me. And I realized that I was not the only one going through that. And so what I want to say to other mothers and other women, maybe not mothers, but just other women and even young men, that you can't be judged by the chapter you're living right now.
Mm-hmm.
Go through it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, our life is like a book,
Yeah.
you know, and this chapter might be good, this chapter might not be so good,
Mm-hmm.
but in the end, it all works out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And so I am going to go in right now into like a more deeper question, and then go into like our overall question. So you are somebody who has experienced grief on many different levels, right? You had a daughter before me, Kayla. After divorcing my father, you had another partner who you were on the way to get married to, and he unfortunately passed from a heart disease. And then you had my bonus father, second bonus father, Mr. Clark, and also your mother, your father, and also you were a grandbaby, right? Like you had always was with your grandparents, and the stories you told me. How are you processing your grief, and also what is something that Brightmoor lacks that will make it easier for you to feel what you feel?
A place where we can go and just talk to somebody. I remember when I was going through with your dad. So when I first moved here, for the first 6 years, I couldn't even see outside because of all of the stuff I was dealing with inside the house.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what outside was.
Yeah.
I felt like I was trapped.
Mm-hmm.
And he and I would fight, and I would get in the car and I would just drive around and cry and drive around and cry. I wish I had a space that I could go to and talk to someone about that. But then I think about the garden, the butterfly garden where me and Mr. Clark eventually got married. But how it started was we got an email, or I got an email asking for volunteers, and I told y'all to come. Let's go plant the garden. And it was in the midst of the trauma and drama that I was dealing with your father. And I told God, I cannot live at peace with this man. And I tried and I tried and I tried, and I released your father in that garden. You all had no idea that I was crying, but I was crying as we were planting those flowers and releasing him and letting him go. And I wish, well, we're building that now, a space where folk can just release the things that, excuse me, no longer serve them. and that continue to hurt their hearts, their minds, their bodies. And so that's what we're building, what I needed.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. In what ways do you see yourself like beginning again? What it feels like do you feel like you're in your second life, fourth life?
Yeah, so probably the second life, because y'all are all grown now. And you do your own things and you don't always listen to me. Which is good. You know, I think about when you went to Africa and I was so afraid. Oh my God. Why is she going to Africa? I know you had no idea that I was afraid, because all I did was support you and encourage you. But I was very afraid that, you know, you were going to the jungle, and then your sisters, they wanted to go away to college. Yeah, okay, but oh my God, my babies are leaving me.
Yeah.
So it's a new life, you know. All of my children are adults, and so knowing that all I ever wanted to be was a mother, it's like, okay, now what?
Yeah.
Because I'm still a mother, but it's different. It's not like it was. And so I am learning this new me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I like her, sometimes I don't.
Yeah.
But again, this too is a journey. And then, you know, with the loss of my husband, I never in a billion years thought I would be here doing this without him. And so it's a process.
Yeah. What gets you through on the really hard days?
What gets me through on the really hard days? I think about how blessed I am. You know, I know people who have lost their husbands. I mean, I still tell people, you know, Mr. Clark took care of me in his life and in his death.
Mm-hmm.
I had the opportunity to not work for 3 years and just grieve and go. You know, I traveled to 4 different countries and experienced different things. And so what gets me through is knowing that I was loved. And not only was I loved, but my babies were loved. He loved y'all the way y'all needed to be loved.
Mm-hmm.
And so it gave me hope to know that God has always and will always take care of me and y'all.
That's beautiful. It sounds like what you're saying is a little contradictory to the normal saying that people say when they said that grief is just love with nowhere to go. Because it sounds like you are also pouring that love into this bigger project, you know.
Yeah, and then just to be totally honest, some days, you know, your auntie says sometimes your mama on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
And it's because I get mad, you know. They disagree.
Yeah.
And one of them that I find myself in is being angry.
Yeah.
Being angry that I have to do this by myself. I mean, not by myself, but without my partner. Without the love of my life, you know. This man was, when I say perfect for me, he was perfect for me. And so what was the question? I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That goes into my next question. My question was like, how do you, well, I'll rephrase it. How do you resonate with that saying that grief is just love with nowhere to go?
Oh, okay. Well, no. You always got somebody to love.
Yeah.
You always have. So I believe we all go through things for certain things. It's never for naught.
Mm-hmm.
It's an experience that we have to share with
Mm-hmm.
someone. I think about my mama, you know. One of the things, as I was growing up, I used to be like, Mama, that's not fair. Mama, that's not fair. And one of her favorite sayings was, life is not fair. And the sooner you realize it, the better off you'll be.
Mm-hmm.
And so living with that, knowing that no, it's not fair that my precious, beautiful, fine ass husband is out of here. But it is what it is, and it ain't what it ain't. You know, he blessed me, he loved me. I remember I asked our pastor, I said, Pastor, are you praying for my new husband? And he said, hell no. I said, what? He said, Dawn, I need 7 men to do what your one man did. And that's what I'm praying for. He said, the love that y'all had, he said, I know folk been married 50 years and did not experience that.
Yeah.
So I know how blessed I was and am. And so knowing that the love that we shared with one another and that he shared with me, I have to give that back out. I cannot hold on to it. And so that's why we're building this center. You know, I'm thinking about my rep, Stephanie Young. Her saying is, love is the work. And love is the work. But it's not always easy. And it's not always flowers. Sometimes it hurts. But love is still the work.
Wow. And so if you were, I know you mentioned stages of grief. If you, say for instance, you never heard of those stages before, what stages would you give grief? Like, what are the top emotions that, and not like to quantify it, like it doesn't have to be 3 or 5, but what are the ones you're like, I went through this entire process?
Depression.
Yeah.
You saw me stay in that bed.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of folks, they be like, Dawn everywhere. Dawn was in that bed, under them covers. Yeah. And the fact that I lost my mama and my husband within a 5-year span, and then just here lately, wasn't even a year ago, granddaddy, you know, you saw me in that bed. And so, depression, anger, you know, I ain't gonna say this, but
You can say it.
I ain't gonna say that, but I see other people still living, and my beautiful mama is gone. I see other husbands who don't give a damn about their wives, and they're gone. I'm sorry, and they're here, and mine is gone.
Yeah.
And so that's the anger part of it that I deal with every now and again.
Yeah. Any other stages?
Regret. So I used to tell folk when he first passed away, I was so angry because we spent almost 9 years of our marriage fighting. We were fighting for education justice, we were fighting for housing justice, and we were fighting for people that don't give a damn. The people that don't give a damn. And all he and I ever wanted was to be happy and make other people happy. And so I regretted that. I resented that. Yeah, so resentment and guilt because I wish we could have. And all of those fights he took on because of me. He wasn't thinking about that when we got married. He just loved me and was willing to do anything that I was ready to do. And he was up in Lansing, in DC, cussing and fussing with me for our people. And so, yeah, I regretted that. I felt like we could have just lived a normal life, not speaking up for folk. But that wouldn't have been us either.
It sounds like the calling on the marriage was to show what love is, and love is different things, and it's being able to show up strongly. And I'm curious, I think sometimes when I have those feelings just about my identity, not in like a marriage case, so it is very different, but there are times where I kind of say to God, like, I want to have a normal life. I wish that I didn't have to speak all the time and do this all the time, but then it kind of keeps calling me, so I'm curious on how that just reflecting on the calling of God anoints people to be together and for what they are anointed to do. But I do understand of like y'all wanted to like take some more trips by yourselves and and have a little bit more fun and prioritize that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What is my next question? How do you think your relationships and community support has changed with the grief transitions you've gone through?
How do I think my relationships in the neighborhood have changed?
No. How does your relationships and community support you with grief transitions? Like, how has the hood showed up for you? Have people showed up for you? Have they?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Listen, on the way here, while we was in here, I saw one of Mr. Clark's mentees just drive by, talk about y'all so strong as we were carrying the chariot.
The chair you're sitting in?
The chair I'm sitting in right now, and I told him, come on and help us.
Yeah.
And he kept going, and I know if Mr. Clark was still here, that would not have happened. So I see a lot of that. I remember we were at a community meeting one time, and one of the brothers was talking to me like I was crazy. And I said, you know what, let me leave here before I cuss somebody out. And I got up to walk away. And another one of the brothers said, are you okay? And I said, no, I'm not. And this person that was talking crazy to me came out and ended up getting cussed out. But I would not have had to deal with that if my man was by my side. And so sometimes I feel like people be trying your mama. And I have to be more gracious than I did in the past. And then sometimes folks show up, like for my birthday party, I was so happy to see all of those people.
You was like, nobody gonna come.
I didn't know.
The party started at 2, people was there at 1:30.
I know, that was mostly the
Black people.
Oh, was it? I thought it was all the white people that
No.
were there early.
No, it's black people there at 1:30.
Because my light-skinned friends was like, we tried to wait for you. But, oh, wow. Yeah. And so, so folk do show up. You know, I think about my sister, my sister-in-law, how she would call me and say, come get some food, you know, and I would go over there and eat. And just, you know, folks that you least expect to show up, they have.
You have beautiful moments.
Yes.
Yeah.
But sometimes they be trying your mama.
Yeah. Are you referring to the sister that she said something really funny one day about you crying in the bed?
Yeah, she FaceTimed me one day. And she said, you know what, get dressed. We about to go to that cemetery and dig him up and say, why you leave us? But yes, she has really, really, really showed up for me. Shout out to you, Sherry. I love you to pieces.
Yeah, that's beautiful. In the practice interview, I have 3 more questions. Okay. In the practice interview, you kind of talked about water and like the connection to water. Do you find yourself, like I'm sure like having access to an ocean would be great, right? And being able to, and I know you get to get that on vacation. Talk to me about little moments with water, essentially while you're in this grief process of just like taking a shower or getting a glass of water. How has that shaped?
I need a sip right now. And that's all it is in this red cup, is water.
How has that been able to shape your grief practice, or do you have a particular moment with water that you want to kind of talk about?
So, I'm a Pisces, so them fishes be going in that water. And I've always loved water. As a child, I remember some of the best moments that I remember with my father was in the water. My father was a swimming man, and he would always take us swimming.
And where was this?
This was here.
And so at Belle Isle?
Not at Belle Isle.
Was it the swimmobile?
No,
not
we
that.
didn't do the swimmobile.
I didn't know.
No. I don't even remember where we were.
Oh, okay.
But I remember as a child with my dad in water. He and my mama got divorced when I was 2.
Okay.
But I have memories of us being in the water. And then when we would go to Mississippi to visit his mama, he would come and we would go to a swimming pool.
Okay.
When I visited him when he lived in Dallas. He had a swimming pool
Okay.
at his apartment, and we swam. So yeah, that was the most times. But here in Detroit, I remember going to Belle Isle with his dad, my great. We used to call him great, and but he was my granddad, and we used to go to Belle Isle all the time and just sit by the water. I remember he used to fish, and I used to be like, Granddaddy, I want to go fishing with you. And he took me one time and told me, I talk too much. I'm scared to fish away.
You scared to fish away?
That's what he said. But you know what? I didn't want to go no more anyway because we had to pee in a bucket. So I didn't like fishing with him, and he didn't like me fishing with him. But I loved us going to the water. So back then we used to have family cookouts. And before Belle Isle, I know you don't believe this, but there was a time that Belle Isle never closed.
Like 24 hours?
24 hours.
Oh,
and
wow.
Granddad would take us down there and we would spend the night at
What?
Belle Isle to secure our spot.
Oh wow, dedication.
Listen.
Because that means that it used to be high value. Like a lot of people would go.
Everybody named Mama was at Belle Isle, and so we would have to go and we would secure our spot and we'd be by the water. And you know, he would cook us. We would cook dinner and then wake up and cook breakfast, and then all the cousins would come.
Yeah.
And so Belle Isle was a source of joy. And then it was also a source of, I think about one day, both of our neighbors on both sides, they were fighting each other. And it was so bad. And I told Mr. Clark, I said, I just need to go to the water. And we went to the water and we prayed and I cried out to God on their behalf. And yeah, so water. And then I haven't done it as much since he passed, but like you said, when I travel, I go. I had the beautiful opportunity to swim in the Atlantic Ocean every single day for 15 days when I was in the Gambia. Anytime I go out of town, I'm going by some water. And usually it's horseback riding in the water, by the water. I love the water. And so when I heard that they were doing a, somebody told me, and they be telling people that they didn't tell me, but when they told me that they were gonna put a lake in Brightmoor, I said, you mean to tell me I've been asking God, I told God the next place I wanted to live was by some water and he about to bring the water to me. And that individual, he laughed a lot, but I love water, and I was excited to hear about the stormwater project coming to our community.
Yeah. You think that it can help people in their grief, or like maybe beautify the neighborhood and blight won't happen? How do you see the connection to where the neighborhood is now with that? So
yes, I believe that it can help heal. I believe I know for me, when I go sit by the water, it's always calm and peace and, of just clarity. Yeah. And but I hope our little cousins don't throw stuff or people in the water.
Oh, people.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
That has happened at the Belle Isle.
Yeah.
And so that's something that I am a little concerned about because not enough people value this space. And it's a beautiful space when you really ride through our neighborhood and you see the hills and you see the land. Excuse me. That is why I wanted to live here. It reminded me of the country. Yeah. It's peaceful, especially now. When I first moved here, we used to hear gunshots a lot, I don't remember the last time I heard some gunshots.
That's true. Yeah. I haven't
Except for New Year's Eve, it sounds like we're in war.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What do you think is something that the rest of the world can learn from Brightmoor and their people?
And we're resilient, unique, kind, and compassionate.
I love that. And tell me, what does the phrase Brightmo to the world blow mean to you? When is the first time you heard it?
The first time I heard it, I think David's, one of his friends, said it. And I was like, I like that. Brightmo to the world blow. And then I think about a time when they were talking about the water. And I sat down with our councilman and our city planner. And I said, let me tell you something. We are the most resilient and innovative community in the city of Detroit. Blight started here. The gardens started here. The murals started here. Everything that the city was doing started here in District 1, in our community. And so it would behoove you to listen to the folk in this community.
Yeah.
Because Brightmo to the world blow. We have the answers. We might not know that they're the answers, but we're very practical people. And you know, my mama used to say all this. I used to be like, that's not common sense. My mama said, common sense ain't common no more. But it used to be common. And so that's what I believe. I believe that we have answers and solutions to a lot of the problems that are facing not just our city, but our world. So Brightmoor to the world blow. What up, though?